This week's episode of This Is Only a Test is made possible with support from TripleByte, because applying to programming jobs sucks, from endless applications to countless hours of technical screens. With TripleByte, there's a better way. You do one online interview, and then you get to go straight to final interviews at hundreds of companies, from tech giants like Dropbox to exciting startups. It's like the common app for software engineers. No resume needed. Apply now at triplebyte.com/test, and if you take a job through TripleByte, they'll offer you a $1,000 signing bonus. Again, that's triplebyte, BYTE.com/test.
Hey, let's start the show.
For Thursday, June 6th, 2019, welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com. Hello and welcome to the podcast this week. I'm Norm on this bright and early morning, Wednesday morning we're recording this, I think. And if you're watching the video, you've noticed this is the third week in a row. I think Kishore has just abandoned the podcast.
Yeah, every Monday he basically says, "Oh, I forgot. I can't make it."
He has a full-time job doing other things, and yeah, we'll get him into the 500s. He did 501. It's important. Jeremy's here though, very important.
Hi, Norm.
Hi, Jeremy. How you doing?
Good, thank you.
And of course, we have a special guest, Steve Lin's back on the podcast. Hi, Steve.
Hey, how you doing? I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, it's really good to have you here. Awesome. Steve, for people who don't know, is a longtime friend of the show, and you have what hobby best describes you? Is you're a collector?
I like historian more.
Historian?
Yeah, I'm no longer collecting. I'm actually in the process of getting my entire collection donated to the Strong. So
Collection of what, Steve?
All of my video games.
Electronics and video game historian.
Yes.
So along with like our friends Micah and a lot of other people we know in that world, you have a lot of awesome artifacts from computer and video game history that just it's ephemera these days, right?
Yeah.
Like the people weren't thinking about the boxes and the manuals and all the betas. Like back then, it wasn't just the download button. And do you have a few favorite items in the history of things that you've seen and been in touch with?
You might have talked about it on here. One of my more recent favorite items is the resin ball for NBA Jam.
Yes.
So if you look at the box art for NBA Jam, there's a basketball that's kind of like bursting through paper, and everyone thought it was just like Photoshop or something. But then a digital, digital, like a CG image, right? But it's an actual prop, and the person who made it, created it. They did the photo shoot, and he threw it like in the back of the warehouse, and then 20-something odd years later, it's like, wait, I still have this, and then auctioned it off through sports memorabilia site. So that was really interesting.
A sports memorabilia site is like, it's a weird places where things pop up.
Right. I would have known about it until someone who was doing an NBA Jam documentary kind of like, hey, this thing just popped up, and then it was sort of free for all for people going after it. And then the most recently, Video Game History Foundation, which I am a part of, spent a month at Game Informer's offices in Minneapolis with Army of Volunteers, and basically they were founded in 1991, and they have only moved one time. So they have all of their prototypes and games and press releases and everything, and so basically an army of people scanning everything, ripping all the discs. I think it was like 8,500 discs and thousands of pages of documents.
Wait, this is for the magazine?
Yeah, Game Informer, the magazine, but it's all their archives, so all the raw assets they got from developers, like prototypes that they were sent for game reviews, press releases.
You were saying that most of the magazine itself was archived already on disc, but what they had in physical form were press releases from games from the early 90s and
correct
all kinds of
tchotchke boxes they were sent.
Yeah, all kinds of like press kits and all kinds of weird tchotchkes and everything.
Goodness.
So it was amazing, and thanks to all the volunteers who helped out on that project.
That's one of the rare publications where they would still have, like you said, you only move one time. I think about, because Jeremy and I used to work for Future, Imagine Media,
Right.
and even in our tenure there, they moved like once or twice. But that old office, it was in Brisbane, California. Even back in the early thousands, it was there. It was packed, every cupboard, floor to ceiling, with random gaming paraphernalia.
Right. And usually what happens was when you move, you throw all of it out.
All goes away.
Did you hold on to any of your old tchotchkes?
I think the one thing I held on to, it was like a PC Gamer football. Like
PC Gamer football.
PC Gamer Nerd football. You mean from a video game company, though?
I held on to a No One Lives Forever mini lava lamp.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Like, I loved that game. That's
Yeah.
one of my all-time favorite first-person shooter games. And it was like a mini lava lamp. You flip it over, and it would just perform.
I think I still have like a coffee mug for some weird like Japanese like Grandia or something. It's some weird thing. But I don't think I like the world of like games marketing, like press marketing, and it happens in like the movie world too. Like just, movie journalists and magazines get sent and all sorts of weird like red carpet type tchotchkes. They make 100 of these things, and it has the brand, and it ranges from they source from some supplier something that's tangentially related to the game that they slap a sticker on or have it custom, embroidered to have that logo, to something fully custom. And I never really got like it's like I understood intellectually like why they did it as a marketing exercise. But from an emotional thing, it's just like it became this extra clunky thing that was at the office, and it more often than not just went to the intern.
Yeah.
Here's which at that time was me.
You had that title for quite a while.
Yeah, and I had no need for it.
Intern for life. I think famously, I think it was like Mafia. For promotion of the game, they sent out brass knuckles with Mafia on it, and then they actually had to ask for them back because it was illegal to actually send brass knuckles to a couple different places. So
I think Guitar Hero sent us a actual guitar, but they put a fake $99 gift or price tag on it because we had a rule
you couldn't accept
that
anything.
you couldn't accept anything over $100.
Right. Yeah. So there's a lot of that. I think one of the things that came off the disc are really like the raw art files or screenshots, because they put it in the magazine and then you scan the magazine, so it's like 2 levels of loss
compression,
of fidelity, right?
Yeah.
And so in this case, it's like, oh, here's the raw 10 megabyte graphics file.
So what will the Video Game History Museum do with these assets?
So we catalog it. We're in the process of sort of getting it all, get all the metadata attached to it, and then give access to people who want to do research. It's like, hey, I'm doing an article or I'm doing a paper on this.
And they'll be able to do that from anywhere?
The idea is for them to be able to do it from anywhere.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's kind of like archive.org, Wayback Machine.
Yep. In fact,
and they have software on their site too.
Yes. Yeah. And we actually put almost everything we have on archive.org as well. So. Yeah.
Have you guys ever been to the archive.org, the server facility?
Yeah,
it's
cool.
It's in a church in San Francisco, and one of the coolest things. It's a temple for data, right? It's in the Richmond district in San Francisco, and it's still a church. Like the servers are in the back, right, where the choir is.
Yeah.
And it's fully exposed there. And unfortunately, there was a fire there a couple years ago. They had to bring everything, kind of raise money to restore it. But the infrastructure of the church, from windows to the pews, are there. And the weirdest and coolest thing is in the pews, they have sculptures.
Yeah, people.
And they have commissioned an artist for basically to immortalize the volunteers who've worked for a certain number of years or had very significant contributions to the project as these plaster statues.
Do you have a
No, I don't.
Person?
No, I do not have one yet. I hope and dare to dream.
They're not like super photorealistic. They're not like 3D scans of people. They're definitely an artist's interpretation of people and a little bit cartoony. And I think they went on tour a couple of years ago. Went to like museums, but just like the idea of immortalizing both data and the people. It's very Library of Alexandria. I just love the whole idea.
Cool.
Will there be a physical location for the stuff you guys are collecting?
So we have
documenting?
we have a little thing in Oakland that's sort of invite only. It's a small, it's actually a giant magazine archive, and that'll sort of be like a physical location for a couple folks, and then most of it, we want it to be accessible to everyone, so trying to get as much of it online as possible.
There's a Midway documentary that just wrapped, and I'm sure you were a backer of that, like I was.
Yes.
And I guess they're going to take it on the film circuit for film festivals this summer, but then hopefully that will come out this fall. I can't wait to finally see that.
Yeah. I mean, he's been in progress for a while now.
Years and years.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it.
In the Game Informer stuff, not to let this linger too long, the digital copies of their magazine, were those PDFs, or do they actually have like the Quark files?
I think it's the original Quark files layouts, and they were on over the different eras. They're like SciQuest discs and Jazz discs and Magneto Optical.
This is exactly as I remember in the future days. Because it's like when Pixar went back and they couldn't access like the Toy Story 1, Toy Story 2 data without those old SGI machines that they need to pull out of storage and run that old software. It's like the same with magazines. You can output a PDF for your flattened version, but all your source files, if you want to actually open out the layouts, you have to pull up software that basically no one has anymore.
Yeah. It's like, remember how to connect to SCSI drives.
Oh my god,
like termination and all that other stuff. So
1 gigabyte.
Yeah.
100 megabyte disk. Woo!
Click of death. Put some zip disks in the freezer for a little bit and then pull it out.
Did it come to that?
Yeah. So
that's super cool. We'll have information about where people can learn more about this effort and the stuff you're working on, Steve, in the descriptions and the show notes.
Yep.
So people can do more research there.
Cool.
Top story this week.
Well, you came on it's happened like twice a year, 2 big Apple episodes every year, one with WWDC and one with the fall announcement of new products, Steve. So we're going to talk a lot today. The top story has got to be WWDC, the 2.5 hour.
No one calls it that,
Really? Dub.
It's Dub now.
I'm sorry.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, when did this happen?
It's like South by.
Oh,
okay. That's just what it is.
No, we're not insiders. We can still call it WWDC.
Oh, okay, fine.
Dub.
Not me, dude.
Have you? I haven't been to a WWDC in so long. Like, actually, I haven't been since it was Macworld, I guess.
Oh.
Macworld Expo was their summer conference, so I can't call it Dub.
Okay.
I don't have any memories of quote unquote Dub.
Yep.
Yeah, let's not. I'm gonna stop it there. WWDC happened this past week, which of course Apple's big annual developer conference this year in San Jose. It's a kind of exclusive event because you have to buy lottery tickets you have to enter a lottery for the option to even buy tickets to go. And so when they go up on stage and say, like, for a vast majority of people, this is their first time there, it's because most of the people who want to be there who are developers can't be there. But a lot of sessions, I think they put a lot of that stuff online. But the keynote serves multiple purposes. Big purpose is, of course, we have a big software update. Annually, it's what's new with iOS, what's new with macOS, and then we have a few kind of hardware updates as well, maybe a few surprises. So we'll dive into all that stuff. Where do you want to start? You want to start with the hardware stuff? Kind of stuff getting the most
news?
press and most news?
Yeah, sure.
So as promised, over a year ago, Apple said they were going to refocus on the Mac. Of course, the MacBook Pros, they soft updated those a couple of weeks ago. They had the new iMac 5K, and then finally they have the new Mac Pro.
Yeah. They went back to a tower design.
They did.
Right? For a while there, they had the canister, which was the cylinder.
The trash can.
Is that what they called it?
Yeah, well, that's what everyone calls it.
I mean, and like I remember Phil Schiller came out when that was introduced, and they were super proud of it.
Yeah.
And then they never iterated on it. It just sort of stagnated. And so now they're back to more of a standard rectangular upgradable design.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it does evoke the tower design of the Mac Pro from years back in terms of the perforated sides, the aluminum build. It's a little more shiny, a little more angular this time. And if you carefully listen, like the best part of following these keynotes is just the subtext, because the words they don't use are just important as the words they do use. And you can hear them say modularity over and over again in customization, but they'll never say upgradability. Never, right? They're like one step away from that. But let's talk about this form factor and what it can do, right? Because it's at its core, it is running a Intel Xenon processor. It is up to these 20 something cores. It's for high compute workflows and for basically graphics processing and video editing. I think they know a lot of the potential customers who are willing to spend starting at $6,000 up to well over $10,000 on a workstation.
Okay, dude. Do you know how much a maxed out version of this will cost? Because The Verge actually did a dive on this. They priced out all the components.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so it's up to pricing that. $6,000 is the
starting
base
price.
starting price.
Yeah.
And starting price, you get what? 32 gigs of RAM? Is that right?
I think it's like 32 gigs of RAM and like a
256
SSD. It's like, what?
Gig SSD. So the most bare bones. You're basically paying for the chassis there. You get your, the entry level processor, a Radeon 580. Which again, when you listen to the way they present it, they say, "Oh, a good processor," because they want to get by that stuff real quickly. Because then they want to talk about the potential upgrades with your dual quad Vega potential
Afterburners.
Yes. So how much could this cost from 6,000?
Well, according to The Verge, if you max it out, and Apple does not allow you to do this yet, so you can't. Normally, you go in and you can price it out and add all your components. They haven't opened it up for sales yet.
Okay, so it's not going to be one of those things where they don't even have a configurator online.
No, they
configurator
will.
Be
They
online.
will.
It's
just
not
not
that boutique.
available.
It's not like email. If email us.
If you're interested.
If you're interested, yeah.
Right.
For a personal consultation with Tim Cook.
Yes, right.
For this price, you might expect that because it will be, for the maxed out, they're expecting it to be at least $35,000.
That's entry level price of a Tesla.
Up to $45,000.
Whoa.
If you include the monitor. Right.
The
new monitor.
stand.
The new monitor is $5,000 all by itself
as a base price
with no stand.
With, and the shiny option too.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think the big part of that cost, I mean, obviously the video cards, but then I think it can support up to 1.5 terabytes of RAM. So just the RAM alone, I think, was like $18,000.
Because it's super fast. It's DDR4.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
a lot of this stuff. So when you think about desktop design, like this is as a computer product, this is their Mac line is so more tied to other companies and other chipsets and chip makers, more so than their other hardware, than iPhones, than the Apple Watch, than even their Apple TV, because they're reliant on the roadmaps of their partners. Whether it's Intel for the compute side or AMD, because they don't work with NVIDIA, AMD for the graphics side. And so it really, they're working on industrial design, and slowly you can see there is some proprietary stuff that they're making, and some of the FPGA chip stuff that we'll talk about. But when you talk about the RAM capacity, that's not Apple. Apple isn't determining that. That's Apple choosing, the highest end Intel workstation motherboard chipset, and that's what allows that capability. So on the PC side, you could build, if you had the money, you could build that equivalent Xenon processor, that much RAM. You just couldn't get a lot of the Apple specifics of it. Obviously, you couldn't run macOS on it.
Right. And I think that there's a lot of people who are really upset at kind of the price and the max configuration. But if this is your livelihood, or if you're a company and you need, this will speed up productivity of everyone working on your film or whatever it is, that's worth it.
Will it speed up that much? Isn't there a diminishing returns after $10,000?
At some point there is, but I mean, if you look at it, this is, I mean, you're probably thinking not just one person, right? This is an entire team of people, and then that adds up over time, right?
Entire team of people sharing. That's why they have casters. You have optional
Right,
wheels
you
on the
can
bottom.
roll it
Right?
over.
You
It's
can
like,
roll it
oh.
on. I'm booking time, export time. In fact, it's probably
It's like compute time back in the day,
right.
Yeah.
So is this really for render time, or is it for actual live workflow time? Because it's supposed to be good for both. But if you're investing that much, where do you get more benefit? You probably get most benefit out of the live working time,
right?
Because you don't want the time of your employees is more valuable than the time on the machine, and you don't want the employees, while they're doing their editing or their graphics design, you don't want them to be waiting. Right. Render time, you can have a separate machine run overnight when the employees are sleeping. That's you don't have a machine to do that necessarily.
Go ahead.
Oh, I saw something where they were saying, especially in some workflows, there's one person near the end of the of the chain that has sort of the monster computer, right? And in that process, sometimes they have to do things like color correction and all this other stuff because the machines of the people in the earlier part of the chain don't support sort of like 8K or whatever in real time. And so it's basically speeding up that person as well because they can do things earlier in the cycle.
I don't know. If you're not developing artificial intelligence on a $40,000 computer, I'm not impressed.
Not interested.
It feels like the Hermes watch. It feels like the version of the product that's meant to make the middle tier look more appealing.
Right.
But this is its own product. I don't understand. Like, is this supposed to make people look at the highest end iMac and say, "Oh, that's not such a bad deal after all"?
I don't think so.
I mean, and for people on the iMac level, I think that is most people right now. Like in 4K editing workflows, the iMac is, if you're on an Apple ecosystem, that's going to be good enough for you. This is for the J.J. Abrams production studios of the world and the Peter Jacksons of the world. If you can afford tens of thousands of dollars on Red cameras and you have 8K footage you need, then $30,000 on an editing bay.
What does the edit team use here? Are they Mac based?
We use both.
Mac and PC? Mac
and PC, because we're not on Avid. We're on Premiere, and so our project files are interchangeable. And so like Gunther's on a PC, I'm on PC, Joey's on PC and Mac. We have another Mac. We have an old trash can that we use for some exporting, just rendering, running overnight.
Yeah, I mean, the way I see it is, if you're thinking about buying this, like, you're probably pretty price insensitive, right? I mean, 10,000, 15, 20,000 might not make as much of a difference because, like you said, you're used to buying Red cameras and shooting 8K.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, we're in a sound bay where it's $1,000 a minute or whatever for us to record this stuff. So let's just spend the money.
Yeah, and like a lot of the benefits they talk about, right? If you can talk about actual practical benefits, or two that I really piqued my ear. One with this Afterburner video card, right? This is custom hardware that works on PCIe for their device, and this is at very low level. They're basically programming their own ASICs for video decoding purposes, and this card will allow they say 6 billion pixels of processing, which means 3 8K streams. Their practical application for this is like no proxies. And so in editing parlance, when you get 4K footage, like on a lot of our existing computers, even like 4K footage you're scrubbing through can chug machine because the bandwidth needed to, wherever you have it stored, what drives you have it on and your local rendering, like that can really chug a machine. And so we create proxies. We run overnight, turn the 4K footage into 720p footage, just to get a timeline edit, and this is how we can like share those files. And they're saying you don't even need to do that with this because you can just watch your 8K footage in real time. So the whole ecosystem, if you want to do that, then one, you need the storage, and you also need the display because no one's gonna really like. What's the point of editing 8K footage in real time unless you have a display that can display it in real time?
Right.
At that point, if you don't have everything end to end, you might as well be working on proxies. And so this is, again, for very, very small percentage of people. Also, their graphics option, like this, again, goes to upgradability and versus modularity. Like they say this system is modular, and I'm sure you can buy some cards, third-party cards, that will fit in those PCIe slots. But even for the graphics cards, I don't even know, can you even upgrade the graphics card yourself? Because I don't know if there are exposed PCIe power connectors.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Because power looks like they boasted that they have this new module. Like basically,
well, given that you can have up to 4 of them, it sounds to me like there are slots.
But yes, there are slots. But when you build a PC on the PC side, gaming PC, you put a graphics card in. Yeah, you need PCIe slots, X16 slots. But then you also need to plug power from the power supply here. There is no, from what I could tell, no 8-pin PCIe power connectors, because what they have, in the interest, as they'll say, airflow and design, they have these chassis modules, submodules that have extra lanes on the
so
PCIe.
Like, there's like the power rail is like
exactly
built into the thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So you have to plug into this MPX module that then it's a 4-wide PCIe housing that then you put the GPUs in there, or you have to buy them with the GPUs built in.
I'm sure you
think
buy
it's the
them.
latter.
Yeah, it's got to be like this chunk that you just throw in there.
Yeah, which, that's just, a crazy thing. And then they talk about power, right? Again, this only matters if you're in the world where like power does not, like literally the electrons, the cost of electrons is nothing to you, because they're talking about a CPU that itself with a giant heatsink drives 300 watts.
Just the CPU?
Just the CPU drives 300 watts, and the whole machine is a 1400. They didn't even say 1400. They said 1.4 kilowatt power supply.
It needs its own circuit.
Yeah, at some point.
Plugging in a dryer or something. Like, I'm like, charge my car or turn on my Mac Pro.
But it does have a 3.5 millimeter jack.
Yes,
thankfully.
it does.
Yeah, on the back, and a couple of Thunderbolt
Nice.
ports.
You know, I mean, I'm sure everyone who buys this thing has sort of a hub or something. But if you think about it, there's actually only, I think, 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports, like 2 on the back and 2 up top. So
Yeah, I guess hubs are. The hub won't be in the monitor.
no. Oh, yeah.
So let's talk about the monitor, because I know this is the big punchline for everyone. And yes, probably the big mistake for this was announcing pricing on stage, right? Like pricing on stage does nothing for. It could be in a press release, because you had the moment where one of the VPs of engineering talked about, like, spent the whole time talking about this whole ecosystem of Mac Pro products, from the tower to this amazing reference monitor, and then it's dropped the $1,000, $999 for a stand, and you could hear the murmurs in the crowd. Like,
Well,
it was the closest you get to a boo.
It was kind of twofold, because it was the price of $1,000 for the stand, but it was also the fact that the monitor doesn't come with a stand.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
Yeah.
How often does that happen? It doesn't even come with the Visa mount.
Oh, $200 Visa mount.
Yeah. Because he did the Visa mount first at 200, and then he said the stand. And you're right. The funny thing about the murmurs, it was more like a wait, what? And then and then he just then he sort of paused for a second and then
threw
kept
him off.
going. Yeah, and so I think everyone is still processing. Wait, what did he just say about the stand?
You gotta believe in the rehearsals.
Yeah.
They must have like reached the point where the marketing and PR people were listening to the presentation and like, ooh, do we really need to include that? Because there's plenty of information you don't need to include in that keynote.
He did it fast. I mean,
Yeah.
like he was like, oh, $199 and $999, and then was trying to get to the next thing. Just
No,
to get
that's
out of the way.
the Iron Man test. It's like walking on coals for a keynote. Can you get all this interesting info out and then drop the price in an elegant way without having the crowd turn on you? And almost, I mean, with the millions of people or however many people were watching on the live stream, like they were not kind.
I am curious to see this monitor. There's no way I'm buying it in any universe, but it's a $5,000 monitor. It's a 5K. It has capable, right?
6K.
Oh, sorry, you're right. No, it is 6K.
Yeah.
It's capable of
It's 5K price, 6K pixels.
It's capable of 1,000 nits of brightness. It's HDR, like 1,000 nits continuous.
Continuous.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to see it. I can't wait to walk into an Apple store and just lay my eyes on it.
And then what is it, 30 inches or 32 inches?
I thought it was like 34 or something.
32 inch.
Okay.
32 inch LCD. You know, they talk about, they call it XDR. This is their super retina, high brightness, 1,000,000:1 contrast ratio. Now, the interesting part, again, this is for production gearheads, is the comparison to reference monitors.
Right.
And we actually use a reference monitor, not one of those like $40,000 ones that or $10,000 ones they talked about. But those are pricier, like reference monitors in production houses, which is what editors and what even live studios use as perfect calibration, color calibrate. They have all the inputs in the back, but you basically have a perfect view of what's going out to your feed. Those do need to be fine-tuned, and those have a lot of inputs. So I'm curious, does this have like your SDI inputs and
Right.
and all your ports in the back, a bunch of different HDMI display ports, or is this still a computer monitor, quote unquote, with just your like Thunderbolt?
There's some pictures of the back. It looks like it's just like a computer monitor. But to your point, the reference hardware is always really expensive. Like with Video Game History Foundation, we actually have a lot of like the Sony, the CRT reference stuff, like the PVMs and the BVMs. And retail for those when they first came out is $10,000 or something. So yeah, you can totally see it.
Yeah, I mean, monitors are basically commodity products now. I remember, what was the first like big monitor purchase you made?
I think a ViewSonic 17-inch was like a big one for
CRT?
me. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I think a 19-inch in college, having two 19-inch CRTs was like the best thing.
Right. Well, I think I also had the Sony that had the retaining lines across, because they had the sort of square layout, and so these like two faint lines that went across the screen. I think like a 15-inch monitor for that.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And then of course 1080p LCDs came out, and those used to be $1,000. I remember Dell had a big one.
That's crazy.
$1,000 for a 1080p 24-inch, but that was luxury. Widescreen was going from 4:3 to 16:9 was a big deal. And then of course now for $1,000, and then I guess after that it was $1,000 for the 30-inch. Remember, like Dell had one, and Gateway had one.
I bought one of those and returned
and
it.
even Apple had one.
It's too big.
Too big, a 30-inch?
Yeah, I know. Like Will probably, I think he used one for a long time as his main monitor.
Yeah.
It was just too much monitor for me.
Yeah.
Remember when Gateway did the giant CRT monitor? It was like a 32-inch CRT. I think it was Gateway 2000
For computer use?
Yeah, for computer use. It
funny.
was like designed for games.
How deep was it?
It's a CRT, so
Yeah.
it's a. I mean, it doesn't fit on any desk.
I mean, going back to magazines, I think one of my sense memories, and maybe this is why like magazines are so well regarded, because like we all have like very tangible physical sense memories of like the photos and the imagination that was spurred from the descriptions. I remember it was a Quake 3 preview in PC Gamer. There was a photo of John Carmack, and it was programmed with a widescreen CRT.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And I was like, what is that? A widescreen CRT? And it was Carmack for programming.
Oh, Ferraris and widescreen CRTs.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
He's got
SGI.
everything.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yes. So that's the Mac Pro that mounts back up. And
There's so much news.
okay, so
Yeah,
let's go from Mac Pro to the software side. And do you remember for the first couple of years, it was iPhone OS, right? From 2007.
I forgot that.
And iPhone OS, when iPad came out, they said, okay, well, it's not just our iPhone anymore.
Yeah.
Let's kind of consolidate it to iOS. And so we've had iOS 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 now this year. They didn't skip it. But then now they're branching out again. And so iOS is for iPhone, and iPadOS is now for iPads.
I'm excited for this.
I'm very excited for this.
Well, it's just a name change, guys. Like the iPads already had a lot of functionality that the phone hasn't had for many generations now.
I think it's the first step for it's the first step for really separating like the use cases.
Right. I think the file system stuff. Right.
The file system. I mean, they released their really expensive new iPad Pros last year, and I bought one. And I bought one knowing that it was probably the hardware in there was faster than what the software was going to deliver, what software experience. And we were all kind of waiting for what was going to happen at WWDC this year. And they're kind of revamping a bunch of things and really, for the first time, adding support for things that people on iPads have wanted for a long time, starting with like just the home screen. The home screen now, for the longest time, those 9.7-inch iPads and even like the 11 and 12-inch ones now had that same grid of icons, which familiar, yes. Best use of space, no. And now you have widgets on the front. The same type of widgets you would get if you swipe left. So that was now, there's an allocated space. And I think it's finally, it's moving toward more like a quote-unquote desktop-like environment. And Steve, like you mentioned, there is real file support. Their file managers improve. They actually will now support USB devices. That's crazy.
You mean USB like sticks?
USB sticks that you
Your
plug
camera, I think you can connect it to that.
in. Right.
Yeah.
Previously, the process of getting your data, your raw photos off of like a memory card onto an iPad, and this is why they have USB-C now, right? It's no longer Lightning as of last year, was you still had to import them with the Photos app.
Yeah.
One at a time. And then once they were in your quote photo library, then you open your photo editor, your Lightroom, and then import it again and catalog it there. It was clunky. And so now you'll have some direct import from your third-party apps and connect it to USB sticks. I think that's a huge thing for them. And also buried in some accessibility now, there will be mouse and touchpad support for iOS.
That's cool. And the mouse apparently works everywhere. You know, it works in the browser, so you can scroll up and down. It works for navigating the icons. You can do long clicks and double taps. It's neat.
Yeah. The new pencil stuff also, I don't have one, but if you're interested in it, like they've reduced the latency a little bit, I think from 12 to 9 milliseconds.
I thought it was 20.
Yeah, I thought it
20 to
was like
9.
half.
How do they do that? That's like I'm really
Yeah,
curious.
without upgrading the
hardware.
pencil.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, what they might have done is just tap into something like lower level OS. It's like, oh, we had like an API
Some
or
overhead.
something, and
Yeah.
let's just like build that into the.
But at the
base.
same time, they're adding more overhead in terms of recognizing what the pencil's doing to the OS, because you can drag the pencil from the bottom corner and take a screenshot, and they're recognizing like that gesture. So like they're adding functionality, but also making it more responsive, which I think is neat. And then some extra gestures now in the OS, like with like cut and paste using like 3-finger pinch. And
That demo didn't work so well.
no, it was a little embarrassing.
Yeah.
And I think like that's kind of clunky.
Even if it worked perfectly, I don't know anyone who uses multi-finger gestures on the regular. Like I know that there are power users that do, but no casual iPad user knows about any of that stuff.
Right.
Yeah. The most exciting thing is like keyboard shortcuts.
Yeah.
For me, like I think keyboard makes tablets so much better. I mean, you want them to be more laptop-like, and having all those keyboard shortcuts added, which I'm still kind of parsing through that screenshot of what they've added. That's going to make this tablet much more of a laptop alternative.
Yeah, I mean, when I travel, especially for a long time, I have an iPad Air 2 with like a keyboard on it, and there's been times it's like, oh, I want to get a file from someone that's really hard. They have to email it to me or something. But now I'm much more confident in just taking this with the new OS
Because of the USB.
Yeah,
compatibility?
I mean that was really the big blocker of that, and Safari rendering the desktop versions.
Could you not request that previously?
I don't know. I just whenever I would load pages, I would sometimes get that.
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
I'm not kind of wasn't sure how to.
They are
swap it.
claiming a desktop class web browsing experience now.
Yeah.
Yes. What does that mean compared to desktop mode?
That's what I meant. Like you should be able to request the desktop version of the site, right?
And my guess is that even in desktop mode, there was some things that didn't work well on their renderer, such as like forms, web forms, would always be compressed, and so people who do CMS work on their iPads can actually maybe with the mouse support and the keyboard shortcuts actually be able to access that stuff.
Yeah,
which is all good. And this stuff trickles down because even though it's in Safari, theoretically it can be accessed in other third-party web browsers who use the same rendering engine. On the iOS side, so the phone side, a bunch of updates there as well. So dark mode, and this is speculation leading to them thinking that dark mode on iOS means that more OLED everywhere. OLED's of course already on the highest end phones, so dark mode maybe a little bit of a battery saver. There's updated Memojis. They have their millennial moment. They're YouTubers like and subscribe on stage or on video.
Yep.
Didn't they say like, oh, we're like makeup influencers, beauty influencers or something? It's like
I like that they again this goes to the careful scripting of a keynote, but they had that whole segment which was clearly for not the people in the room, but for the people watching a live stream, or maybe for the people in the room that feel like, oh, Apple is hip with the youths. And then right after that segment,
Well, did you see what the last accessory was that they used that you can now add to yourself in Memoji?
oh, AirPods.
Yeah.
And they said it like, of course, AirPods.
Yeah.
Like,
I thought of you.
it's the
you,
youth.
you were saying it is an accessory
It
as much
is.
as it is like an audio
it is
tool.
100% a fashion
They pay
accessory.
$170 for these droplets.
But like they threw that whole segment some shade immediately right after.
Yeah.
Like the presenter was like, yeah, that wasn't for everyone. But like, then why'd you have it?
It gave us a lot to think about.
They hedged. They hedged.
Yeah.
But okay, on iOS, speaking of AirPods, there's now sharing AirPod streams.
Yeah, so is this just for AirPods? Because this is an amazing feature if it works across like anything. I mean, there's no reason why you couldn't AirPlay your music into another phone that then gets piped through whatever headphones that person's using.
Right.
I want to have my own personal broadcaster that anyone else can tap into. That
You
would
want
be
squirting, Zoom squirting.
You said it, not me. But that would be great. But it sounds to me like this is possibly just for AirPods.
I think not only is it just for AirPods, I think it's via the phone, someone else's iPhone too. So like I don't know if it's one iPhone or one iOS device to two sets of AirPods, or if it's sending a signal over something like AirPlay. Or
To a phone?
To a phone.
Well, in
to
that
phone,
case,
right?
then we should be able to use any
And
earphones.
then, yeah,
Have they said
or they could restrict it.
Is it just Apple Music? Or like if I'm on Spotify or something?
YouTube, whatever.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
It was kind of unclear, right? They just sort of
But
showed the top.
it's like a really cool feature.
Yeah.
I think that's potentially really neat.
Yeah. They had a big maps demo. So they're really, they have cars out on the street now doing what Google's been doing with Street View, and they have their version of Street View now, which is it's a little smoother. They're really proud of.
Oh, come on. It looks really neat, dude. Like the smooth scrolling between nodes on the ground, like when you're walking down a street.
Yeah.
It doesn't just crossfade between the two different images
Interpolation.
and do this kind of fake zooming. It really looks like a 3D movement of the camera.
Yes.
That looks to me like it's all very forward thinking towards some sort of virtual reality experience.
AR glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Just the United States, though, right?
Well, by the end of the year, they'll do the whole U.S.
Okay.
And then, other countries soon after.
Yeah, that's a expensive venture to get those cars out there and drive and get that data. And I guess Google's been doing it their way. That Google Maps team has people in backpacks and walking around the world. And I think it's going to be a very tough uphill climb for Apple to get that level of coverage from inside stores and remote places. But it may be enough if the quality of experience is good enough.
Yeah.
There's the new sign in with Apple button, which
Yes.
I think that's great. There's a couple interesting caveats that surfaced after the show, but that was another feature that I felt like along the lines of the accessory video wasn't for the people present. It was for the people at home, because everyone present's going to want all that data that Facebook is sharing, right?
All the developers.
Right. Or whatever with Google. Like they're going to want as much private information as possible. So the developers in that room are going to want that.
Apple's like, no.
Yeah,
lockbox.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't have
Lockbox.
anything. But then again, like I'm sure that there are a lot of devs who just want easy access. Like they just want low friction. They want people to be able to use their app and sign in as easily as possible. And that's what this does give you.
I mean, it's theoretically what the previous signed in and associated with social media accounts was supposed to do. And
Right.
I think, a lot of people trust Google. A lot of people trust Facebook, or at least find it convenient, and have signed in with Google on a lot of their applications. I do it for my Adobe stuff because I never want to, it's easier, honestly, than pulling up one password and copy and pasting. But they made a big point of now it's not just signing with Apple. And of course, you have to use their hardware to do it, right?
You mean
and their apps? It's within their apps, but even your emails and your personal information gets kind of hidden as well.
Yeah, it's
completely
obfuscated,
developers.
right? It's like that anonymized email address that forwards to your actual email address.
Right. So
Right.
you get if you can choose to share your email with the dev if
Right.
they request it, or you can choose to share an anonymous email, and it's a random character sequence, at iCloud.com that gets forwarded to you, and you can make a new one for every single app that requests it.
So here's my question. If I sign in with Apple, if I create an account and sign in with Apple, let's say theoretically for Netflix, right, on this, and there's a sign in with Apple button. I'm like, okay, I'm creating a Netflix account for the first time. I'm going to protect my personal email, click sign in with Netflix. And for a lot of these apps, the email is your login, is your username. If I've sent Netflix this convoluted thing that I don't even know what maybe, and then on desktop side, I want to access my account.
Yeah.
How do I sign in?
I mean, you have to look it up, right? Because
Then you're back to the one password, pulling up a database of what is my associated username and something that's convoluted to type in.
That's funny.
Well,
you
you
know
have to be locked to the Mac, in the MacBook Pro or the MacBook or my iMac.
Well, no
ecosystem.
one's forcing you to use the feature, Norm.
Right.
I mean, these are the UX considerations.
I'm sure that there are use cases where you are only using it on the app, only ever on the phone, and then you're fine because it will always be stored there.
Foursquare. I'm only using it on the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm yeah.
I just never leave the Apple ecosystem, Norm, and then
Yeah.
you'll be fine.
Yeah,
you have Touch ID everywhere,
This
right?
may not be a problem. They've considered it out.
Right. Like, oh, wait a minute.
But
also along the same thing that you apparently can't employ this feature as a developer without. You can't log in with Facebook or Google without also offering the option to sign in with Apple.
And the design guidelines say that sign in with Apple must be the first option.
Oh, wow.
Must be
really?
on top.
Oh, that's just come on.
Yeah. Or highly recommended that that's on top as the option.
This is really going to help them in that lawsuit about
Antitrust?
market. Yeah. Jeez.
Did you not see the movie Antitrust?
Who was in that? Ryan Philippe? No.
Yes, it was. I believe it was. Good pull. Good pull. Very good. Okay, again, a ton of stuff out of WWDC. Let's go to Mac OS side. The new one is Catalina, the bougiest of Mac OS. Right, Yosemite was the most, and it was the most democratized.
I'm ashamed to say I don't know what Catalina is.
Catalina Island. It's right off the coast of Southern California. It's this big island that rich people go fly to and take boats to, and it's like
Really?
it's like their own personal Cuba.
Yeah.
Like
Turks and Caicos is the next one, right? You got to keep raising the bar.
yeah. So Catalina, and included in this is the breakup of iTunes. At least on the macOS side. Mm-hmm. So actually, yesterday in Still Entitled, we talked about we wondered what was going to happen to iTunes because on the PC side, it turns out iTunes on PC not changing. Like the way if you are a person who wants to back up your phone, your iPhone or iPad using a tethered connection to a PC, and you had previously done that through iTunes, that's still going to be there. Sorry, you're not getting the 3 apps.
Okay.
On the macOS side, iTunes is getting broken down. And again, they tried to play this off as a joke. They never choice of words. They never said iTunes was broken or iTunes sucks.
Oh, no.
All they said was,
Dude, come on.
iTunes. So many people have asked for feature requests, and so they played it off.
They're being
as like,
sarcastic. I thought it was hilarious. Like I thought that was a really they wouldn't have trusted that delivery to many executives, but like
Craig got it right.
Craig did it right.
So music, podcast, and TV. And podcast is the big surprise because it's an acknowledgement that this is a valid form of media that is exploding, and it deserves its own app. And it is a primary use case for a lot of people on their mobile devices, just listening to podcasts. So the way you would sync your phone is just literally built in the Finder now. You plug your phone in or however you sync it, and if you don't want to use iCloud, you just in Finder that lets you get all access to data. We don't know really what these 3 apps will how they'll really work, but it'll all be related or all be revealed in when the macOS Catalina comes out.
I mean, I assume it'll be just like iOS.
Yeah, I guess the TV app, right? It's just like
And the podcast app and the music app.
Yeah. So there's some the screenshots they had. Yeah, I guess it looks you have your tiles of programming. It's all tied to still your Apple ID.
I mean,
account.
they're probably using this new framework that they're so proud of that allows you to develop for all platforms at once.
Right. Well, I think they even said that they had been using it
Yeah.
for a lot of their stuff, and now they're sort of releasing it to everybody else, right? Which is great. And I mean, for a lot of folks, it's like, oh, I have this iOS, and I can do a macOS version of it.
It doesn't necessarily solve a lot of people's problem with iTunes, which was just purely music playback and music management, because their music app primarily will probably be still buying music and doing and listening to streaming music. But for people who have big music libraries on the Mac, they may be SOL.
Yeah.
What else from people with iPads and Mac devices can now use iPad as a second screen.
That's interesting, both wireless and wired.
Yeah, and third-party programs have let you do that
for years.
For years to very good effect. Even ex-Apple developers have created those programs. So this is nice, I guess.
No, I think it's super cool. Plus, it will emulate the touch bar on the MacBook Pros that no one ever uses. Right at the top of the screen, it will actually add that to the iPad screen
as a bar.
Yeah.
Okay.
So any app that's actually gone through the trouble of implementing that, it now has a slightly bigger use case.
Oh.
Do you both have touch bars?
Yeah.
Do you use them?
I have to look at it every time I use it, like muting and everything. It's just
Right.
Yeah. I don't use it.
What's the most interesting use of it? Implementation of it, like an animation or scrubbing through anything?
In fact, I think it's distracting, especially if I'm in Safari. It shows kind of the preview of the windows, and then I see it moving as I'm doing something else, and it's actually more of a distraction.
There's got to be productivity use cases that I'm just not aware of. Like maybe there's video editors that use it interesting ways for scrubbing.
I do know Final Cut's supposed to do that,
yeah,
but I don't know if Premiere.
Yeah, but there's nothing tactile there. It's
just
rubbing your hand against.
Is that a missed opportunity for them to have a haptic feedback engine?
I don't know if it's a missed opportunity, but it's certainly an opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
or maybe they had thought about it and decided it wasn't worth or they couldn't get it feeling exactly right.
Yeah. They're like, no one's using the same.
I mean, it is an analog control, right? But they also have analog control literally on their touchpad,
Yeah.
Right.
on the trackpad, which is giant on these MacBooks. Voice control. We're getting closer to her, the world of her, right? It was a fun topic for the podcast always. What does it look like when you can fully interact with a computer with just voice?
Oh, you mean the
Is this-
accessibility option?
Yeah.
Yes.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
That was one of the best parts of the whole presentation.
Yeah, seeing it break things into quadrants and
Yeah.
numbers and everything like that. That's a great way of navigating.
That was almost science fiction.
Yeah.
It was really neat.
But it's all still it kind of bootstrapped, right? You're still tying to the visual UI is how your voice is acting as the cursor as opposed to being natural language.
Right.
And the natural language would be the next step of like
Right.
intuiting over learning like what your intentions are.
But we're not even at the point where AI can interpret when a period should appear in a sentence.
Yeah.
You still have to dictate commas.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Any other?
On that note, Siri got a new voice.
Oh.
Does no one care about this? I love.
I don't use Siri. So.
I have been interested in voice synthesis ever since like Dr. Spatzo on the Sound Blaster. Like ever since computers could do this, I've always been fascinated with what's possible. And like I love the War Games voice, and I know it wasn't real. I know that it was like reversed words that were spliced together. But there's something about voice synthesis that has progressed recently to the point where like some things sound human, and I love it. Here's a demonstration of the old Siri voice.
Absolute zero is the lowest limit of the thermodynamic temperature scale, a state at which the enthalpy and entropy of a cooled ideal gas reach their minimum value, taken as zero.
Right, and then here's the new one. Let's see it. We're around here somewhere.
Absolute zero is the lowest limit of the thermodynamic temperature scale, a state at which the enthalpy and entropy of a cooled ideal gas reach their minimum value, taken as zero.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's very Star Trek.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're almost at Scarlett Johansson.
Right. Like it's still a long way to go, honestly. But I just love that we're making these kind of strides. And now what's interesting is like up until iOS 13, the Siri voice has been constructed from phonemes that were recorded by actual humans. And now this is completely
Computer generated.
computer generated synthesized.
But they're still using bass recordings and tuning them.
There might be some sort of
It's like an auto-tune automation.
No, it's not. It's not using recordings and then altering
At
them.
all?
No, this is fully synthesized.
So there is no person.
Obviously, it's based on the same person, but it's based. And maybe it's using computer learning in whatever way that they do this. They probably have those new computers.
the Mac Pros. Yeah, that's 1,000 tracks of of Pro Tunes.
Logic.
How
Entirely generated by software.
Yeah.
that is crazy.
Yeah.
But people speak with different inflections, and so they have to make it. It's still a choice, the type of inflection you're choosing.
Yeah.
Like to end a sentence with not uptalk,
Right.
to pronounce a word a certain way.
One of the fun things about Siri is exploring all the different accents. Once you get an update, you can go through. I use British Siri personally, but there's Australian and there's all kinds.
I mean, it can go much more granular theoretically. It can be Siri that talks the way you talk.
Well, wouldn't that be interesting?
Right, based on all maybe in your lockbox of on your phone of all the voice commands you've sent it, all the pauses, and all the ways you pronounce things, it can talk back to. Would that be weird?
I want like Samuel L. Jackson. That'd be like
You train
Like
you,
celebrity voices.
At what
for
point
Siri.
does that become illegal, like an impersonation? Because
Well,
you can't use the likeness to fit like the.
Yes, Back to the Future 2 proved that.
Right, exactly. But can you use a voice sound alike if it's a computer doing it?
I believe that is not, like, for example, Infinity War, right? Spoilers for Infinity War. When you had Red Skull there, and they did not get Hugo Weaving back, but it was clearly a Hugo Weaving sounding voice performer. Did they have to get Hugo Weaving's sign off for that performance?
Right.
Or does it not matter? Because it's just a quote-unquote generic German accent.
Yeah. Well, remember when Roger Ebert lost his jaw, right? They did that voice synthesis that was basically, they had so much of his voice recorded that they were able to basically make a box that talked like
forgotten that.
in his voice, right? So
And Stephen Hawking was offered much better sound synthesis, but he turned it down because the original computer voice had become what he was
associated with.
had become his voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it goes back to when we talked about that Salvador Dali, like
The
deep
selfie
fake
camera.
yeah,
thing.
selfie camera, like a kiosk, right? Like the virtualization of people is just going to be inevitable, both visually and as important auditorily.
Right.
Going back to what they did at the beginning, last two things, watchOS updated. So if you have the new Apple Watch, congratulations, you have apps.
Well, you have an app store now. I guess
This is them realizing, like, I'm so curious what the actual use percentage for apps is. Because it's got to be so low.
I know.
And maybe putting an app store will
you have one?
encourage people
No.
to actually use those apps and have.
I don't know.
It feels like they need to spend more time, and it looks like they did, on building native apps, like first-party apps, giving us a good suite of the first-party app stuff on the watch, and just letting that be the feature set.
Yeah.
And for the vast majority of it, like getting a notification when your lift is here, that's neat and that's useful for notification wise. But like no one's ordering their cars that way.
No.
So, but calculator is there.
Yep. With a tip calculator.
Tip calculator, sure, that's useful. Voice memos, I think, is hugely important. That makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
And I think those are the only like big first party native ones. Health fitness updates as well.
Apple TV got an interesting update where it's allowing gamepads from
PlayStation,
Microsoft, and PlayStation.
Yeah,
That opens up a lot.
Yeah.
Of interesting.
Remember this tying back to Steam.
Oh yeah,
Steam Link.
Steam
That's
Link,
good
right?
timing, eh?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Wow. I
Right?
hadn't thought about that.
Right. Also, the biggest feature, though, for tvOS that did not make its way to any other versions, what a slap in the face, multi-user support.
Yeah, exactly. Like that is so desperately needed on the iPad.
Yeah. No, they would rather you buy two iPads.
I know.
No one's going to buy two Apple TVs for one TV.
Right.
So they'll give you
Input
multi-user
one,
there.
input two.
Yeah.
It's like Thomas the Tank Engine's on this one, and then I don't know what's on the other one.
Because iPad supports it in education. Like if you're in a classroom
potentially
environment,
it's
you can do
there.
that. Yeah.
All right.
But we will not give it to you. So
That's good. I mean, Netflix has been doing that already.
Yeah.
So when you sign into Netflix, you can choose which account. So my kids are able to choose theirs, which is helpful. But yeah, OS wide, fantastic.
yeah. That does it for our long top story this week. And in fact, I think it's time to give a shout out to our other sponsor who makes this episode possible, and that's SiriusXM. If you don't know SiriusXM, then listen up. SiriusXM brings you the deepest variety of commercial-free music for every genre and for every mood. SiriusXM is where you hear the biggest names in talk, entertainment, and comedy. It's where you get news from every source. And a lot of people think that you need a car to enjoy SiriusXM, but you don't. You can listen outside of the car. And right now, you can get your first 3 months of SiriusXM outside the car for just $1. Just go to SiriusXM.com/test to see the offer details and to subscribe. For $1, you can listen to SiriusXM on your phone, at home, and online. So anywhere you are, any time of day, you could hear your favorite songs or discover new ones. Go to Sirius, that's SiriusXM.com/test and get your first 3 months of SiriusXM outside the car for $1. See offer details. Offer available to new SiriusXM streaming subscribers, and SiriusXM no car required. All right.
I have to say something. I listened to the podcast at 1.5x.
Yeah.
And so that sounds so slow to me. Like all of the
funny.
transitions.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, that took a long time.
You're the guy who listened to a 1.5x. So
Yeah.
many podcasts, Steve.
Yeah. Well, E3, the Giant Bomb stuff, you have to listen at 2x because there's like 4 hours of podcasts a day.
How does your brain even process that?
I don't know.
I'll
It's
pl-
like the Matrix.
I'll try to play it at half speed. Next.
Even better. It's like ambient noise.
Okay, in pop culture stuff, we're in the full summer movie swing. Endgame set the bar for all the movies this summer, but now we have out Godzilla King of the Monsters, which came out to half and half. We'll call a mixed bag of reviews.
Is it not a fresh tomato?
I don't think it is.
No.
I have tickets to see it this week because I still want to see it.
Right.
Because I love Godzilla.
Right.
But yeah, it's 40%, unfortunately, on Rotten Tomatoes.
I heard it's a great movie if you removed all the humans. Just have the monsters
you want the
running around.
monster cut.
Right.
But out this week is Dark Phoenix, the last of the X-Men non-MCU Disney X-Men movies.
This is it?
This is I think this is the last one they're going to put out. Technically, I think New Mutants, Disney is going to put that out, but this is the end of the 20 year. That's no. That was made by Fox a year ago. They just haven't released it, and Disney probably it's on their slate to release that, pending some reshoots. But of the core X-Men franchise of what was started with Hugh Jackman back in 2000, and what was then James McAvoy in the First Class series. This is the culmination of that. The reviews are out, and they are not kind.
No.
It has improved since I last checked. When I first checked, it was 15% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow.
It's now 20% on Rotten Tomatoes. And honestly, of course, it's disappointing if it is that bad. I'm going to reserve some judgment until I do see it. I'm wondering if it's going to get to the territory where it's so bad, it's worth watching to see why.
I don't. I saw it. So I normally I don't want to try to. I try to not watch trailers, but I saw this one in front of Endgame, and I was like, well, I do not want to watch that movie.
Well, one, it feels like it is like a retelling because we had a Dark Phoenix story in X-Men 3, which again, that movie was plagued by a bunch of production problems, bringing in a new director, not going what original writers were intended. Simon Kinberg, who directs Dark Phoenix this year, worked on that script for that one. So this was his chance to bring back. And I think you go back to one, how do you end? I think they knew this was going to be a conclusion. They knew the actors were kind of done with the role. We're talking about the younger actors with James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender. They're big actors now, Jennifer Lawrence especially. So they needed to wrap it all up. And I don't know how could it be this bad? I don't understand.
Right.
How do you get it wrong?
Report back.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You just give her telekinetic powers. You have some crazy action scene. I don't understand. Is it like that because the bar was set so high with Endgame as a wrapping up of a culmination of a story that reviewers and the public just feels like they're exhausted from that, and this just if it didn't hit those high notes, it can't meet any of those expectations.
I don't know. I mean, nobody sets out to make a bad movie, right?
Yeah.
So maybe this is just one of those things just didn't come together.
Yeah.
So
did you like Endgame, by the way?
yes, I did.
Good.
I basically thought it doesn't. I don't think it's great as a standalone movie. You have to have seen at least a couple of the other movies to get it. But it was fun.
I love those Twitter threads you sometimes see from people who have, for them, Infinity War was their first Marvel movie, and they're live tweeting, or their friend is live tweeting their reactions. What is that? There's a raccoon? What is that? I don't get his character as a tree.
A rabbit.
Yeah, I don't know if you could do that for Endgame. Yeah. But they're definitely confident enough in their story that they did not need to add the kind of the talky backstory elements that sometimes you do, because they know they're going to make $1 billion anyway.
Right, it's remember when that happened? Yeah. Okay. Here's our next scene.
Yeah.
All right.
Speaking of Endgame, the directors, the brothers Russo, I'm just going to call them that from now on, Joe and Anthony, have announced their next project. They do have a film coming out that's starring Tom Holland. I think it's more of a real world story about opiate addiction and military service. But their next project after that, they're developing an animated show for Netflix based on Magic MTG.
Oh my gosh,
Magic the Gathering.
That's so funny because I know this is is divisive the word? It's divisive in the sense that some people will care about it and some people will not care about it. Magic is not a part of my childhood.
It's part of your child's childhood.
It's definitely part of his, in a big way. So I think that's interesting. You played Magic.
I played Magic way back.
So are you excited about this?
yes, in so much that like it's if I don't know who the audience is. If it's animated, then like maybe they're going to reference a lot of the characters and stuff. Like literally in this Entertainment Weekly story, the first line is "Planeswalkers are coming to Netflix." I'm like, I don't know what that means. 'Cause maybe this is a new Magic thing, right? Just talk about Mana and and talk about like Sarah Angel and then like the old stuff like from Revised, and then I'll get that. No, I'm not that interested. I think.
We have a whole like Magic table and banners and everything in part of our office. So
Discord?
At Discord, yeah. And so there was a lot of people that were really excited about this. And I was like, okay. I mean, I get it. Like, yeah. So
I wonder what they're excited about, because is the fiction a big part of playing that game?
I think for some people it is, right? Maybe it's just, this is more content around something I really enjoy. And so like, and especially given that it's the end game folks, like they'll probably do it right. So
I really
I'll
hope
dive in.
that they don't try to squeeze in mechanics as
Like
game
gameplay?
mechanics, right?
Like
you
the
have
Doom
20
movie?
life. Oh no, your turn is over.
It'd be interesting if, like,
I have tapped all my resources.
If the fantasy was about the existence of all of the characters, but then there were these god cards that like slammed down.
No.
The lords have spoken.
It's a bootleg card.
Oh,
My goodness.
What was it? There was that cheating scandal, right? A couple weeks ago, where the guy was marking his cards, and so
Let us
little
consult.
bent corners.
The Inquest. The Inquest magazine. This power is infinitely more rare than that card. I'm playing with my revised powers.
These are still in plastic.
We have to check if this Black Lotus is real. We must bend it. So,
Yeah, there's no need to. Like, I'm sure they won't, but it's fun to joke about, like, because it does happen, right? You see it in like video game movies.
oh yeah.
All the time. Like,
Well, I said the Doom movie where they went into first person.
as a novel, as like, and it just is a cinematographic like storytelling
Right.
device.
I got it, dude. This is going to be interactive. This is going to use their interactive layer, and you're going to be able to play cards yourself as a player.
There you go.
It could happen.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. We have two choices here. We can stick with the Netflix. Here's your choose your own adventure, Jerry. On the next story, we can stick with the Netflix segue, or we can go with animation segue, an animated series segue.
Netflix, please.
Netflix. Okay. So also coming out on Netflix and based on a beloved 80s and 90s franchise is
90s.
No, 80s. Well, there are books in the 90s, comic books. Dark Crystal, and the first trailer for the Dark Crystal has been released.
Yes. This looks awesome.
It looks fantastic.
I mean-
I was surprised though. I'm like, I have only seen the movie when I was a kid.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I didn't realize there was comic books and all
I
this
didn't
other
either.
lore.
Oh, no, me neither.
Okay.
I thought maybe you hadn't like ever seen the movie since you were a kid.
No.
Yeah, and I didn't know about that either with the comic
So
books. But
puppets.
it's all about
Yeah.
this is Jim Henson took the Muppets and went kind of serious. And is it PG rated? I don't know. It's a bit scary.
Yeah. The Skeksis when
Yeah.
he like disintegrates and all that other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely some dark, some light elements to this film if you haven't ever seen it. But it's all puppetry, and they have redone all of this amazing puppetry. Like, they haven't gone CG. That would have been the obvious, easy route to do. I thought for sure, like, if they were going to remake something, that's probably the way they would go. But they do some amazing CG background work, and it's a nice, compositing of the old and the new. But oh my God, the footage of these new puppets, they just look spot on. They look like they have reanimated the old stuff, made them look a little bit better. But wow, I can't wait to see this.
The characters always freaking me out a little bit, the elves, because like they always look a little bit plasticky, a little bit
like
dead-eyed.
smooth face.
Yeah, the smooth face is
Yeah.
it's a little bit creepy for me. I like the Skeksis always. I thought the creature design was great.
Yeah.
This is a 10-hour series. So this is a huge, expensive project, and we do know some folks who had worked on it over the past couple of years, working on some of the puppets, and everyone's super proud of it. So very excited for this to come out, and that's soon on Netflix.
I
In
have
fact,
to rewatch the film now.
yeah,
beforehand.
yeah. That and like Labyrinth are like the two.
Yeah, those
Dark
are the two
Henson.
Jim Henson movies.
Yeah. Also on Netflix, Black Mirror's out. New season of Black Mirror.
Okay.
Oh.
I know, Jeremy, you still haven't watched
No.
anything beyond
I've only watched that one.
USS Callister.
It's so good.
I implore you.
No, but is there one as good as?
I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to saving it for this weekend.
In the entire pantheon that you have seen, is there one as good as USS Callister?
Emotionally, or just from a kind of like creative storytelling, like novel?
Sure. And as good as.
Emotionally, I think yes.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
I think
you're a fan?
I've only seen a couple episodes actually, and I'm not sure why I haven't sort of deliberately gone back.
they're brutal. They're it's hard to
I
watch.
was like, whoa, man, what was that?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I will say if the Christmas special that they did, with that John Hamm stars in, is one of the best that they've done.
Okay.
And that one, that one's worth watching.
Was that season 3?
Between season 2, after season 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's on Netflix. Okay, going back to the animation storyline. So another. This is a beloved franchise, definitely of the 90s, that's getting an animated take. And this time it's on DreamWorks. Also coming on Netflix, though. This is part of the DreamWorks animation deal. Jurassic World, the animated series.
What are you talking about?
Jurassic World, Jurassic Park, the universe, is getting an animated show on Netflix, courtesy of DreamWorks.
You got to spend that $12 billion somehow on content. Wow.
That sigh, Jeremy, tells me everything I need to know.
Is the world asking for more Jurassic World content?
Yeah, exactly. They must be.
Have we?
They
have we
must have.
told
The
the
kids
stories?
love dinosaurs.
They must
Yeah.
have data on this, and they're saying, they're asking for it.
Man,
So it's called Camp Cretaceous?
Yeah, Camp Cretaceous.
Is there another movie coming out?
Yes.
There is.
Yeah. Jurassic World 3. Like when what's the guy's name?
Chris Pratt?
No, the director of Jurassic World, who was going to direct a Star Wars movie, Campbell.
Typing.
Typey.
I need to
Fact checking
get
ruins
this.
podcasts.
I know.
Isn't
Colin, sorry. I was thinking Colin Campbell. But
Yeah.
Colin Trevorrow.
Uh-huh.
When he pitched the idea of a new trilogy for Jurassic Park movies to Universal, it was thought of as a trilogy, a full story.
Did not know.
So Jurassic World, the first one, was about the fulfillment of the park, and then the second one has echoes of Jurassic Park 2, and that the dinosaurs go into the real world.
Oh.
And so the third one is theoretically dinosaurs are going to be all over the world.
Uh-huh.
Like that's why it's called Jurassic World, and not Jurassic Park. It's
Wasn't
because-
the first one called Jurassic World?
Right, but that's why the series, like that's why this trilogy is the Jurassic World
Foreshadowing.
trilogy. It's about what happens. Like it's not just contained in the park.
So
The park
when
is no more. The island's gone.
The world is the park.
Like the world is, it's like this is the fulfillment of what happens when you mess with genetics.
So when is that
They
coming
got
out?
it. I think that's in again, Googling, 2021,
Oh,
Wow.
okay.
and
Wow.
Colin Trevorrow is coming back to direct it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're right. Kids love dinosaurs. And Draft House a couple months ago showed the original Jurassic Park, and I went to see it, and I'm like, wow, this is still amazing.
Did you ever see it when it did a 3D release?
I never saw the 3D release.
I know that it is released on like 3D Blu-ray, but that's the one I wish I'd gone to see.
Yeah, you got to charge up those glasses.
Yeah, no.
No one.
Oh, I don't. My
No,
that
I don't
TV's
even know
gone. I
if-
don't have that
yeah.
TV. I sold that TV.
You watch it in the Go. Just rip it down. It's the best experience.
It's in the Quest.
there you
go.
Yes. I could find that. Yeah. And last bit of pop culture news. What do we got?
Oh, well, we didn't. This was in the Apple section, but they had the trailer for All Mankind.
Oh yeah. Okay, this is This is alternate history. It's Ron Moore.
Right. Battlestar
and
Galactica.
Battlestar
right.
Galactica, DS9,
Right.
Outlander, which I know because we're watching that at home right now. And this is his Apple. This is like the first piece of trailer content we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
From the Apple TV service.
Yes, the
Yeah.
Apple streaming
Whatever that
service,
is.
whatever their Netflix
Yeah.
competitor.
It starts out with all this moon landing footage, going to the moon, Apollo 13? 11.
Yeah.
And it looks all very authentic, true to history, and then the headline lands on the table.
Red Moon.
Red Moon. The Russians have landed on the moon.
Yeah.
So it's like Red Sun, the classic Superman story.
Yeah.
The what if he went to Russia and became a Soviet hero? Well,
Right.
it's what if the Soviets land on the moon in '69? Well, the space race doesn't end there, and so it goes on. It's alternate history, which I like if they have the money. Alter history is tough to do right if you don't have the budgets.
Right.
And I think Amazon has done a good job with Man in the High Castle with that. They spent a ton of money on it. And obviously Apple has all the money. So the world building is if they can spend the money on it and make it believable, I'll watch it.
Yeah. Well, Tim Cook said he saw all of it. And he
Yeah, that's
loved it.
right.
So
That's right.
kind of a weird thing to.
I know it's
Weird
a little,
flex, but-
weird flex. I've seen all of it, and it's great. It's amazing. I love that's the other thing that they do in the keynotes. They tell you how to feel about this feature. It's amazing.
Well, that's an old Steve Jobs trick.
It's incredible. It doesn't work.
No, but he used to he's the master, and he used to do that under his breath. He would show you things, and then is that me? Yeah. This should be on DND. He would show you things, and then he would say it's incredible.
as if he wasn't sharing it with you. As if,
right.
He was so taken aback, and he was like, "Oh, I've done something so good." But now it's just they've scripted it out, and after every feature, it's just so tiresome.
I thought the presenters were really excited. This time.
Yeah,
There's a lot of let's cheer, everybody clap.
Yeah,
no, please clap.
Is excited the word, or is
energetic, jazzed,
over rehearsed?
They were jazzed.
We'll see.
Any other bits of pop culture you guys want to talk about? I do want to give a recommendation for Good Omens on Amazon. This is the Neil Gaiman TV show. Hugely recommended. It's just 6 episodes. Really, really good.
I've been reading a lot of books lately. So.
Oh yeah, any recommendations?
So, Three Body Problem, and then I read Dark Forest and Death's End.
Oh, you did read? Okay, you did.
Yeah.
Okay. What did you think of the full trilogy?
I was really impressed. I mean, there's the world building that happens in there, and then in kind of the post-apocalyptic thread, The Dog Stars, which was a bestseller. It's another something kills a lot of people in the world, and then Station 11, which is kind of along the same thread. So I'm just in this sci-fi kick. But then on nonfiction, Educated by Tara Westover is fantastic if you get a chance.
I guess the one last bit of pop culture news that we should talk about is the opening of Galaxy's Edge.
Oh, right.
It opened last week.
Oh, yeah.
People have gone to the park. I've seen so many people post on Instagram and on social media about their photos from the park. The one ride is open. And
the Millennium Falcon?
Yes, and from all counts, it's incredible.
Yeah. How's the lines?
Well, you know the word they're doing it now. I mean, the lines are
wristbands,
long.
right?
It's timed entry. You go to the park, but
a fast pass for everyone?
It's a fast pass just to get into the area.
Oh.
You can't just walk in like you could for Cars Land. It's in proper Disneyland proper, but you have, because they want to sell you the idea that you are being transported to not just a different area in Disneyland, but a whole new world, to Galaxy's Edge. And so they gather all the people at your time, and then they kind of walk everyone in.
No, I know about that, but
and then you spend as much time there as you want.
No, you have 4 hours.
Wait, they're limiting it now?
So they're limiting it now, and so if you're at past, because your wristband tells there's different colors, and so the staff or cast members, I guess, know that you're not supposed to be there after.
Then they
4
escort
hours.
you out.
Well, they said oh, you better get out of here before the stormtroopers show up and things like that.
How far could you press that?
Yeah, I don't think anybody's sort of seen what happens if no, I refuse to leave.
Disney jail.
Yeah, it's underground.
Yes.
But they were saying what was it? Polite but forceful was what I heard.
Forceful.
But how much of that 4 hours are you spending in line for the Falcon?
Probably a lot of it.
That's what I want to know.
No, someone has already come up with the right sequence. It's when you walk in, you're supposed to go reserve your lightsaber build time, and then you go to the store, and then you do the Falcon last.
Because there's a discrete number of things to do, right?
Yeah.
X number of restaurants, X number of stores.
They
X
serve
number of
alcohol.
rides. They do serve alcohol, and X number of ways to spend money if you want to buy a droid or buy a lightsaber, $200 lightsaber. So you can kind of maximize. 4 hours.
Well, they even have the $100 gift card, but it looks like a coin that's another collectible. So it's basically, if you want to have that thing, you effectively you need to spend. No, you get one. It's $100. So it's hey,
you buy the one, leave, make a mold, cast it, keep the casting, and then spend the real one.
I mean, Frank's shop's not that far away, right?
Right.
Just
Throw it over the fence, right? Throw it back in 2 hours and 30 minutes while you can still spend it.
It's like that scene from Sneakers.
Yeah, I can't wait to go.
Yeah.
But very cool that stuff is open now.
Let me know when you want to go.
Long time coming. Oh, we'll do a big family trip.
We'll go.
Can't wait till the baby's old enough, or ditch the baby. No, ditch the baby.
Well, you have to stay in the hotel right now to get the ticket.
Oh,
get
you have to
in.
stay in one of their hotels.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And the nights, it's like $600 a night right now. They haven't said how long it's going to be under this like regime, but
Okay, I don't
see.
want to go anymore. No thanks.
Oh, are we done?
We're done
All right.
with this section.
All right. Here we go.
This week's episode of This Is Only a Test is made possible with support from Pedal. Debt is a massive problem, and the truth is, traditional credit card companies don't do much to help. But now there's a new kind of credit card company called Pedal. Pedal was started by a group of people who were sick of old school credit card companies. That's why their Visa credit card has no fees, and their mobile app is designed to help you manage spending responsibly. Pedal's cashback program rewards you for doing the right thing. Earn 1% cashback right away and up to 1.5% cashback when you make 12 on-time payments. Pedal is a great modern option for anyone, but especially those who are just starting to build credit, because you can even qualify even if you've never had credit in the past. Pedal partners with WebBank member FDIC. As of today, the Pedal Visa's variable APRs range from 15.24% to 26.24%. It's about time a credit card company helped you succeed financially. Check out the Pedal credit card. It's responsible credit for the modern world. Go to pedalcard.com/test today to find out more. Once again, that's pedal with a T. Pedal, P-E-T-A-L, card.com/test. Hey, I'm going to start with some car news. Congratulations to our old friend Ryan McCaffrey, who got a one-on-one interview with Elon Musk for an hour on his podcast, for his podcast, Ride the Lightning. And interesting discussion, not a ton of new info, stuff.
Not true.
Well, the one bit of new info that was revealed there and then reported elsewhere is that in addition to the Atari games that they're putting onto the Teslas, they're going to be full-on, like, Xbox-style arcade games, including Cuphead.
Now, that's what was reported, but if you actually listen to the podcast, I think all that Elon says is they got it working. So Unity is working on the Tesla screen now. So they can run Unity games. But Cuphead is an 11 gigabyte game. I don't think that there's enough storage for that. I can't imagine.
So they said it'll only be the first level. Yes.
That game is
and
brutal,
because
too.
of storage capabilities. What a stress test for their processor, because it is a brutal game and timing is extremely important in that game. You don't want the latency.
Yep.
I don't know what the quality of experience will be. Like, will it be plug-in controls only? Because no way they're going to let people play with touchscreen controls for that. I mean, I would be happy if they were just like Cuphead-style screensavers on those cars. Entertain the kids.
It's a cool looking.
Right? It's a great-looking game.
You can play with an Atari 2600 joystick if you really want.
Right.
Yeah, you could.
You could.
Oh, yeah, anyone could build one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
So that's the Tesla news. It's neat. I like, how far will they go? Why? At some point, the more you're putting more effort into it, then you get kind of press.
Ryan talked about it, and I was surprised that this struck him as much as it had struck me. There's that quote from the Joe Rogan interview that he did with Elon Musk, where Elon said that he wants the Tesla to be the most fun thing you could possibly own.
Is that before or after he had the controlled substances?
Right. I don't think he inhaled.
Okay.
I don't think so. But I mean, this is along those lines. Like, this is just, just having fun.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I mean,
Are you gonna play Cuphead on yours?
no, I don't think so. I'll launch it.
Okay.
I won't play it. Like, I won't do a playthrough.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you don't launch the Atari games right now, right?
Yeah, no, you play it once and that's it.
He didn't even know they added new ones. I'm so disappointed.
like, make the car fun for driving.
Which it is, I
It is.
assume. I mean, yeah.
And it
Yeah.
is. And the fart machine. That's great fun.
You like that?
I like the fart machine. I got a baby. I can make the baby fart. Baby loves it when
You know
different
that's
farts come in.
positional. Like he can control where the fart comes
Yes,
from in the car.
I did hear that. I did hear about that. It's like the next gen whoopee cushion.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and you can have it controlled with the
with
steering
the
wheel
fob.
controls.
Oh, the steering wheel. Okay.
Yeah, so like, well, I'm not changing the music. I'm just pressing the button here.
Mm-hmm.
I did have a severe battery anxiety yesterday.
Oh.
My mistake. I forgot to charge it fully past 90%, like the full day's drive, because normally you would set your car to only charge to 90% to preserve the battery life. And I didn't do that, so I lost the extra 30 miles, and we drove to Sacramento and back, and in rush hour traffic, and I got home with 12% battery.
I thought you meant your phone.
No, I texted you, Jeremy.
Yeah.
And I was on the bridge.
I was like,
Yeah,
what?
I can imagine you sitting like by the toll gate.
He must
like,
have forgotten his phone cable.
No, the car battery said, because it gives you a range. I had to go back to the office
Oh my God.
to do some work, and I was seriously thinking of driving home and not going to the office, so I could drop the car off and charge,
Yeah.
and then
Right.
drive another car or something to the office. And that was the first time. I think we have a lot of superchargers in the area, but there still could be more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is why I don't have electric. The range anxiety would just drive me crazy. So.
And for day to day, it doesn't.
Right.
With proper planning, it doesn't.
With proper planning,
Right.
it doesn't. But in those cases, like you could be caught off guard, and if you're in a rush to get somewhere, you just
Right.
got to build in that extra whatever time it takes to top off or
Right.
to fill up just a little bit. What other tech? We went through so much Apple stuff. Hey, DJI, remember those guys?
Yeah.
They make drones?
They make quads.
Yes, they have a new professional quad. No, is it a quad?
Octo.
It's Octo. It's for struts, but
yes.
top rotor and bottom rotor.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's called the DJI Storm, and it's probably for people who are buying the Mac Pro,
Yeah.
the new Mac Pro.
Yeah, people with unlimited funds.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, it is so big and so advanced, and has a giant stabilization system with a payload of 40 pounds. 40 pound
It's like-
payload.
That's a child.
Yeah. You could just strap your kid onto it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's in comparison to so 40 pounds is what? How many kilos is that?
14.
18 kilos.
18,
18 kilos. About yeah. So the previous one was only a 6 kilo, or about a 12 pound payload.
That's
So
just a
this is-
baby.
Yeah, and it goes up to 50 miles per hour, and it can fly 15 minutes with that payload.
Well, it says 8 to 15, right? But I think if in the video they actually sort of suggest that it's easy to swap the pack, the battery. So it's assuming you can't have a shot longer than 15 minutes. But
Yeah. The gimbal underneath itself is about $8,000. So this is definitely a high mid five figure drone.
It may
Right.
be interesting if they had an extended battery pack that used some of that payload weight. If you didn't need it all for your camera system, you could fly for an hour.
well, I think they probably factored in hey, what is the heaviest camera that someone
Yeah.
would want to strap to this thing?
Plus
right?
all their gimbals.
Yeah. And there's a version that comes with a film crew, or so it's
It's
like
basically
a pit crew.
It's for professional service. They're professional cinematography companies are renting out services. Same companies that have helicopters that then get hired by studios and productions to
Or the crane or something.
Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's just another tool like that.
But it's not just operators for the quad and the camera. It's a full editing bay.
Oh, in the truck.
Yeah.
There's a big
Yeah.
Optimus Prime. You get Optimus with it, right? And Optimus in the back, and the Semi has your editing station.
Yeah.
So they know where the market is right now, which is big productions.
There have been people, ever since they've been around, there have been people building their own large-scale quads to lift heavy cameras. And now I guess they're just putting their toe into that high-end market.
Yeah.
One of Adam's crew built his own quad,
Yeah,
right? Back
yeah,
on
Duncan.
Mythbusters?
Yeah.
That's right. I think it was. They also showed the OK Go video when they filmed that. When they did the big pull up, I think that person had a Octo or.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So.
Hey, E3 is next week, and anticipate a bunch of news coming out of there. One bit of news that came out from Microsoft is that their Xbox Game Pass is coming to the PC. Do you use Xbox Game Pass? Is that a worthwhile service?
Yeah, I mean, if you, all the new releases are on it.
Can you tell me what it is? I don't have an Xbox.
So it's basically like a subscription service. So like you see, it's $60, or I don't actually remember how much I pay for it, like $15 a month or something. And you, like when games are released, you can just like download them and play them. So like Sea of Thieves was like one of the launch titles, and they're saying for PC. They didn't name any specific titles. They just talked about publishers, but it's 100 games that you can just download and play
via their launcher.
Via their launcher, right, on the PC. So
yeah,
and this makes sense, right? It seems like there's a lot of things that are starting to combine PC and the Xbox together.
I think it's a real tough sell, because unless you have the library, like on a Steam or even on Epic, or like you guys have a games library. Unless you like start with a big library, it's hard to sell a subscription service with like publishers, quote unquote, publisher support, or 100 games. Because 100 games sounds like a lot, but how many of those are you're actually going to play? It doesn't feel, the value proposition doesn't feel like it's there.
It's the same number that Apple used for their arcade, but all of those are exclusive, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
100 exclusive games.
I thought so. Thought they were funding all of those.
Yeah. This is why Netflix has $14 billion worth of debt, right? It's because they're in the content war, right? And so it's who's going to spend more and
can you really be in the content war for games, because they're not made the same way?
No, but what you can do is you can do exclusive, right? You can lock up a title for some amount of time by giving them funding or upfronts or something.
But there's so many alternatives, like as opposed to content where people are. They're devoted to a show. You can't just change one political show for another political show,
right?
Or one science fiction show for another science fiction show. They love the actors, they love the storylines. For games, if one type of shooter isn't there and locked up, they'll play another shooter. Or if one RTS or one MOBA isn't there, they'll play another one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're seeing this right now with like the Epic Store, right, where they have like launch exclusivity.
Yeah.
And so it's, if you want to buy it, you have to pretty much buy it from them. Yeah. So. And
the value isn't just in the difference is the value isn't just in the content; it's in the community for games. Right. So much of it is. Yeah. And that's less so with the traditional types of media.
Right.
Yeah. Well, at least those kind of exclusives are job security for developers for a year or two.
Right.
Which they don't necessarily have by going completely independent. Like, it's a huge gamble.
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, is there any other? This week is not big on tech.
What are you?
I'm like looking at these stories, and I'm like, no, the story is boring.
Leap Motion's sold.
Yeah.
Leap Motion did sell. They were going to sell to Apple.
Well, they were going to. A couple deals, I guess, with Apple reportedly fell through. And they were, who knows, but the deals were reported to be more than they got by selling off to a UK competitor.
Yeah. Wasn't that kind of people thought like that faceplate on the Valve Index? Would you like stick a Leap Motion in there?
I mean, like, because they did have wonderful incorporation into the original, like even I want to say certainly the CV1,
right?
The Oculus Rift. That's when they pivoted, and they became a VR accessory. Mm-hmm. But I think they were even working with like the DK2, and it's neat. Like I hooked it up. You got full-fledged hand tracking on the Oculus Rift, and it was great. And that's what everyone assumed that index hole is for, but who knows?
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
I think let's just skip the rest of the tech stories.
You're good?
Because I don't think there's anything worth talking about.
Okay.
There's some phone stuff, some 5G stuff, but I don't think anything is super notable.
I put in here, I mean, the Google and Facebook stocks both took a big hit this week, and that's because of FTC and DOJ investigations, like antitrust investigations. So it's one of those, this could be important, but we won't know for quite a while.
What about Bitcoin? It also took a hit.
Are those things correlated?
Did it?
Yeah, it was like down like $1,000.
Oh my goodness!
In the past few days.
That's like 50% of that.
You can get a tweet from Norm's Bitcoin. It's not yours anymore, right?
It's not. I did get a tweet recently.
Oh, okay.
So someone out there is still listening.
Cool.
And you want to talk about pinball?
It does feel weird for us both to be on here and not talk about pinball. I think that's actually how we met,
wait.
Right?
There's a segment.
I'm a pinball nerd. Pin. Just to my point. Finally,
very happy.
It was a rhetorical question.
Yeah. Right.
It's always a rhetorical question. I met you because of pinball.
Right.
You know, that's how I initially met you, because you bought Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah, from Future. We had that in the lobby during my second round, probably after you left and started to test it. I'm not sure, but you're a huge pinball collector.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, at California Extreme, go to that every year and seeing all the new pinballs. You know, actually a lot of the new releases have been underwhelming. I think like Black Knight kind of just came out.
Yes, Steve Ritchie's third in the trilogy.
Right.
First one came out in 1980, second in 89, and now we have finally the third.
Yeah.
And the great thing about that is that it's Stern's first, non-movie, non-rock band, non-TV show game in forever.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I'm glad they're doing it like original IP. You know, it's not tied to a license.
Well, it's not original. It's like
it's
Williams' IP, right? But at least it's
like,
pinball IP.
Yeah, not like a movie or TV show or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I the last good pinball machine for me was Iron Maiden.
Me too.
Which is super fun. But then like the Beatles came out, and that's not great.
I'm not nuts about the Beatles either.
Yeah. So.
But the designer, Keith Elwin, for Iron Maiden is due for a game. Like, all the other designers have taken their turn. So, like, whatever he's working on, it should be soon. It should be, I would think the next game or one after.
Okay.
For Stern's lineup. And so I'm excited to see what Keith comes up with next.
Do we have any rumors in terms of what that IP might be?
Probably, but I don't surf Pinside as much as I used to, so I don't know what those rumors are.
Okay.
Do you know of any?
I do not. So we'll see.
Have you played Willy Wonka?
I have not played Willy Wonka.
Is the new Stern one?
Yeah, no, this is the Jersey Jack.
Oh, Jersey Jack.
Yeah. And it looks interesting.
I played it at the Lodi show at the
Okay.
Golden State Pinball Festival, and I was really pleasantly surprised.
Good.
Good.
But expensive.
Yeah, well, they're all expensive.
Yeah.
Is this a wide table or is this a standard
No,
size?
it's standard, but because Jersey Jack always said he would only do wide, but then he brought on Pat Lawler, who is
only wants to design.
You don't tell Pat Lawler what to do.
It's like I did Twilight Zone and Addams Family.
Right. And so he did Dialed In at first.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, the original title for that was Killer App.
Right.
Which
I like that more.
I much prefer.
Yeah.
Because it's definitely more about apps than it is about like making phone calls. This is a pinball machine that like has a fake smartphone in it that you launch apps.
Wow.
Killer App is great.
I didn't know you knew that.
What? I've played the game before.
This is great. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Dialed in.
Did not.
Helicopters and like you're
little
saving the
drones,
city and
quadcopters.
Quadcopters. Yeah.
But Willy Wonka is his next game.
Oh.
So now he's like got a feel for the technology, the platform, and the shots feel really good.
When you lose, does it play "Cheer Up, Charlie"? The worst song.
I don't. I think they only licensed 2 or 3 songs, including Pure Imagination. Of
course.
That's
Right.
hugely
Candyman?
popular. Don't think so. That's only for the musical.
No,
That's not in the movie, is it?
No, it's in the. It's.
Oh,
Willy
you know
Wonka
what?
doesn't sing it.
Yeah, I guess when you drain the ball, it should say like, "I said good day, sir."
I said
good day.
sir.
It feels really good. Like I wasn't into the reveal. I thought they oversold things, and I felt like the music was annoying, but it shoots great,
Okay.
and the lighting effects maybe the best I've ever seen. Like,
Nice.
It's really cool. So yeah, I look forward to that one. It's probably shipping in a month or so.
Nice. I can't wait.
What's
to
the
play
last new game you bought?
The last new game I bought, actually it has been a while. It was Star Trek Limited Edition.
Do you still have it?
I do.
You like that game?
Yeah, I love that game. It's super fast.
That's also the same designer as Black Knight.
Oh,
Yeah, Steve Ritchie.
well, you know,
Can't win them all.
can't win them all. Everybody has a bad game in there.
I love Star Trek too.
Oh, it's a beautiful playfield for Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
Very colorful.
Yeah.
Very, very colorful.
And I'll be going to Pinburg this summer, so we can chat more about that later. That's the biggest pinball tournament in history.
And thankfully this year does not coincide the same weekend.
That's California Extreme.
That's California Extreme.
And Star-Lords is going to are be back.
Yes.
this year? Yes.
We're bringing it back.
Sweet. Highly recommended. Star-Lords is amazing.
Thanks. You want to talk about VR?
Let's do it for 10 minutes.
The VR Minute. Virtual reality this week.
Okay, since we recorded last week, we went to Augmented World Expo. Saw a couple things. Videos are coming out this week and next. And one of the things we saw was announced there was the Nreal AR glasses. These are the base price $500 consumer augmented reality glasses, or developer edition that includes the computer.
Mm-hmm. So what do you do without the computer?
You have to plug into your phone.
Mm-hmm.
They have a partnership with Qualcomm. I believe it's Qualcomm 845s or 855s or both. But basically, your latest Samsung and your latest LG ThinQ and OnePlus phones will have those. USB-C, and you can run the processing off of your phone, and it becomes your controller, a 3DOF controller your phone does. But it is a very kind of standard augmented reality implementation with a combiner, two 1080p displays.
In terms of the tech,
in terms of how they get the image actually onto your field of view, so very much like what Meta did, but very, very small.
That's their innovation.
form
That they've
factor.
really minimized all of the mechanics,
The size and weight
electronics.
of this.
Yeah,
So
it looks like a big pair of sunglasses.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like
yeah.
normally with augmented reality glasses, you got all this, computing power up top,
Right.
projectors and whatnot. If you're doing the combiner system, which is a projected image that gets reflected, into like a 45-degree angle.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they can still get a fairly wide field of view, even though the form factor is very small, so very low throw for display. What was cool though about Augmented World Expo was across in the press room they had this room that was like the museum of augmented reality,
Oh.
and I got
Well, of headsets.
of headsets,
Yeah.
and it had to be like 30 headsets there.
Is that it? God, it
It
felt
was
like 40, 50.
Yeah, it was a ton of headsets on heads.
Yeah.
Across the room, you can just go, one by one and check out what AR. This was strictly
Just
AR,
AR. Okay.
not VR headsets. AR headsets look like 30 years ago, and all the way to the modern day headsets from Magic Leap to HoloLens to things like the Nreal. But it was just really cool to see
Yeah.
all the different ergonomic implementations. And we're talking about like things not full field of view. You had like things that were covering one eye, very sci-fi looking things, very
Right.
bulky, big things with big, very long throw displays. But that was just really cool. I wish there was a curator there who would just like all day. Like
Yeah.
I wanted the Oasis. I wanted Simon Pegg's character
Right.
to pop up and maybe in AR and like tell me about this headset
That'd be
for
great.
15 minutes and tell me
Absolutely.
about that. I would spend a lot of time in there.
Nice.
Yeah. And then they could give you like a simulation of what it looked like.
Oh, because if you had the perfect AR headset,
Yeah.
then they could like narrow the field of view, or
Right.
like you lose your convergence or something. Or,
Right.
Yeah. But
Wow. Was Tilt 5 there?
Tilt
No.
5 was not there. At
Oh,
least not
okay.
that we saw.
Jerry's been teasing a lot on Twitter, though.
Yeah, it was a sign up form now, right? For
Mhm.
for some of the
I've
information.
signed up.
So
Yeah, I definitely want to.
I still have that old dev kit. Of his. It's like floating in a closet somewhere.
You
Are
have,
you-
you have a Surface that you can use it on?
Yeah, it came with a roll of that
Wow.
reflective material. So.
I thought it was interesting that a lot of the AR headsets were owned by the director of HoloLens.
Oh, in the museum. Yeah.
So that gave him a lot of street cred for me. Like,
To have the hardware.
yeah,
to
he's
buy
not
and
like
everything.
just some guy who like moved over from the Word program, like he.
No, he's a long-term.
yeah, he's
AR,
a serious nerd.
AR dude.
Right.
Other AR or VR news.
Well, I went to the Vive X demo day yesterday.
Okay.
Would you like to hear a little bit about that?
Sure.
So this is Vive's incubator.
Yes.
They have committed $100 million to funding. This is their fourth batch of companies.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is. And but it's not in order to sell headsets. This is basically venture capital. This is them looking to fund companies that they hope 1 in 10 will get bought out and they'll do very well for themselves and they'll do better than break even. And so what I ended up getting, and I didn't realize that I thought I was going for a series of demos. I went for a series of stage presentations. So it was like 2 hours of where each company is, or what funding they're looking for next, what their business plan is, and so it was a lot of that. But there are a couple interesting companies, and I did get to try one demo of a company that that takes 360 video footage and converts it to 6DOF.
Oh.
So
Okay.
Everyone knows who's into VR. If you look at a 360 video in a headset, it's great for looking around. But if you move your head or you walk, it's very disorienting because you don't move in the space. You just your head moves and that doesn't get reflected in the visuals. So they've come up with a way to analyze video, send it up to the cloud, send it back, and you can basically walk through it. And while it does give you that ability, it doesn't actually interpret the geometry. So like I'm standing on the beach and it's flat, like the water is rushing up, but it's not, the waves are not three-dimensional.
Right. Yeah.
Nonetheless, like they are solving a problem of people being comfortable. What that was, Spatial 360 was the name of that software. There's another one that Modal, they're doing location-based stuff, and they do a lot of installations that just use like off-the-shelf hardware.
Okay.
Where two people stand with like 5 focuses or something, and they play Pong with each other. But it doesn't require like physical infrastructure. But their new plan is to augment laser tag arenas. And they're saying that they can do it with basically any laser tag setup. And they're calling it Area X, and it's like a laser tag overlay system where they'll come in. I would be very curious to see how they do this, but they're going to somehow scan the environment and then allow you to basically play like an augmented reality game in a wide like arena scale area. That's interesting, because I don't know what the returns are on laser tag. Like according to their graphs, they're a downward trend after installation. That's a really compelling use case, given that those spaces already exist. And the places where people are setting up location-based things, it's not the void, that's not like specialized spaces. It's all very like in the lobby, very bare bones. There's no structures.
Yeah, physical. It's expensive to build physical structures and ramps.
Absolutely.
And all that stuff.
And it's a gamble.
Yeah.
There's a company called Lucid Labs, which they're using is it called the Vive Eye? What's the one that has eye tracking?
The Toby?
It has Toby incorporated into it, but you always knew that eye tracking would be used for
foveate rendering.
Well, that's true, but very few of these companies are like games focused. So this is to collect data and metrics on what people are looking at. So they have incorporated both eye tracking and EEG. So they have added sensors into the headset.
Wow.
And they're partnering with companies so that you can look at their products and without saying a word, they know how you feel about it.
Oh boy.
Very, very specific components, aspects of it. So that they'll load the model of a car in front of you, and their software will record where you spend your time looking and what your brain does when you look at those areas.
Okay. Wow. This is good, like getting closer to Strange Days, right? Where you just like stick something on your head and start seeing stuff.
Yeah.
Who's going to volunteer for that?
Well, they'll pay you. They'll pay you $100 to come in and like look at their car, and you don't have to fill out a form. Like in a sense, it's better. It's better for everybody,
right? Because
they get more detailed feedback, and you don't have to spend your time typing out paragraphs about what you thought about the headlights, right?
Okay.
I mean, that's the theory,
right?
So, but you're right. Like it is, you have to be voluntary.
Okay.
Like eventually, this will just be built into baseball hats, right? Or sunglasses.
Westworld caps.
Yeah, Westworld caps, right? It's the
hat.
The hat.
Yeah,
right.
Go to evil.
Yeah.
So that was it. That's the future of AR and VR.
All right, and like we saw a few more other things at AWE that we'll have videos about. But one game outside of that we played, I want to talk about before we wrap up the show because we're running short on time, is Freediver.
Oh yeah.
This was recommended online from VR Oasis. Came out this past week, and a bunch of VR games are coming out this past week. There's the Justin Roiland game, Trover Saves the Universe. I'm really excited to play that. That might actually be the first game I'm going to try to get to run wirelessly from the PC to the Quest, because it feels like I want to play that game, but I don't necessarily need to be standing at my standing desk.
I hear it plays best with a gamepad, actually.
And I mean, I can use touch controllers and emulate the gamepad and sit in my living room if I can.
Yeah, but I hear it plays better with a gamepad than touch controllers.
Oh, shoot. Maybe I need to get the PSVR version then, because that's a track gamepad. Anyway, Freediver.
It's called Freediver Triton Down.
Triton Down. It's like a $9 game, about an hour and a half long.
No. 45 minutes.
You think 45? You beat the whole thing?
I could. In my Steam account, it says you've played for 43 minutes.
And you beat the whole thing?
I beat it, yeah.
Okay.
So I must be really close then. But it's a story, a narrative story about you as a survivor of a research vessel that has gone capsized. And you are underwater for most of it, but you're also a freediver, so you can hold your breath. And it's basically, remember the scene in Mission Impossible Rogue Nation where Tom Cruise has to hold his breath for like 5 minutes? And he's like going in the underwater thing. It's like that, but a survival game, and it is intense.
Did you ever play the Echo games, Echo Combat Echo?
Yeah,
Lone
yeah,
Echo?
yeah.
You know that locomotion mechanic where you
Right.
grab the walls?
Right.
It's that, because you can do that.
Underwater.
You can grab surfaces and propel your way yourself,
Because
but
it's-
you can also swim.
Okay.
And so that is the other mechanic.
Right.
But they don't allow snap rotation, so you have to do one arm to turn.
Okay.
And it's a smooth rotation,
And
which
you can actually do like 2 arms and like
is it
paddle.
faster that way?
That's like a tank controller.
Yeah.
Wow.
I
that's
enjoyed
cool.
that. Like that, the kind of like moving my hands like in like a breaststroke type motion.
Right.
It was really intuitive.
Yeah, it's really good, and there's a ton of climbing as well.
Okay.
I think they nailed locomotion.
Nice.
For me, that is the thing I want from VR experiences. It's not great graphics or story or even gameplay. Like it's still so new. I get so elated from new locomotion mechanics that that's what I'm looking for. So
But the immersion and literally like the
Yeah.
forgive the pun, but like you are submerged in water, and another gameplay mechanic is you have to catch a breath.
Right.
And so you're moving from location to location. It's a
Looking for
survival
air
story, looking
pockets.
for air pockets,
Yeah.
looking for oxygen tanks, and
Okay.
you're grabbing oxygen tanks and putting it to your mouth. Again, only in VR, and then you're building up your oxygen meter, which you have like a meter on your wrist, to 100, and then finding the next air pocket. And I'm literally like tippy-toeing, tilting my head up,
Oh, that's
gasping for breath
Right.
in the real world because I'm so immersed in the game.
Yeah.
I'm holding my breath as I'm doing this, like for a lot of it, and I'm like not realizing that too.
Wow.
Because the graphics they're really good.
They're really good graphics. Yeah, I was surprised.
Yeah.
It feels like Vader Immortal, where it could be a chapter thing, where this is the first chapter. Certainly there's a story there that goes somewhere.
Yeah.
And I hope that that's their plan, because this is a great deal.
I really wanted to play on the Quest.
But you take one look at these graphics and you
are
say,
like,
oh
no,
yeah,
this
no, you
is
couldn't do
basic.
that on the Quest.
Yeah, the tutorial is like you're above water and you're kind of like treading water, and it just looks gorgeous. And then you're diving deep down, and the environments are all. It has that feeling of claustrophobia because you're underwater. Like there's only so many areas of like that you feel safe, and there were parts of the game. It took longer for me. There was parts I just needed to literally catch a breath and just hold my head up above like where there was a gap and just stay there for like 30 seconds.
Or you get to a part where there is a surface of the water, but the ceiling's so close that you can't get air there.
That's why I'm tilting my head.
yeah, it's
That's,
like
that's
trying to,
literally
like,
where
gesture
I'm like,
lips, like-
yeah, because they can track your where
Wow.
they model your mouth to be.
And the whole time you're trying to escape this sinking ship that's upside down, so stairs don't go where you think they do.
Wow.
You have to fix your orientation. It's weird.
Oh, give it a shot.
I wonder if someone could play it on like upside down, and then things would be right side up.
In the upside down world.
Right.
Right, the water wouldn't be in the right place,
No.
but
Yeah.
at least they would be. I mean, like, it's another game where like if you got like some type of harness and you were just kind of suspended on a swing, like that it would still technically work
Yeah.
because you would need the resistance. You
Yeah,
just
yeah.
need the motion.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, it's like I can't believe it's like $9. Like super affordable.
Well, but it's also very short.
Yeah.
But it is
Yeah.
it's really well done for that. Like I was saying, Vader Immortal. Like it's very comparable to that in terms of what you get for the money.
Yeah. That's it for this week. Next week, I'm at E3. I'll be doing a bunch of playtests there and coming back with some reports. And I think that's it. Steve, anything you want to promote? Anything want to mention?
Well, I actually, you talked about this a while ago, but the Speakeasy in
Yes.
San Francisco is shutting down.
August 4th.
Yeah, August 4th is the last performance. So if you have
my
not
God.
gone, you've got another couple months to try to squeeze
If
it
you
in.
live nearby, go. And if you might visit, do and go, because it's so good. This is a performance unlike anything you've ever seen.
Yeah. So that's about it. Yeah. Follow us. Video Game History Foundation is gamehistory.org, and Twitter account is gamehistory.org, and you can see some of the stuff. We've been sort of teasing some of the things we got from Game Informer, and then all of the new releases and everything coming out there.
Alrighty. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Steve.
Yeah.
This week. Jeremy, we got an intro or outro?
Imperialist Rex.
Hi there, I didn't see you.
It's actually quite dramatic, and it's super violent in this way that I found, quite watchable.
All right. Thanks for the recommendation, Kishore.
That man.
He made it after all.
We need more of those. So if you want to send one, do a Google search for tested outro. Is that right?
And that's where you can find the SoundCloud to download the raw outro file.
And then upload them to the forum.
Yes. Thank
Cool.
you. All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.